Have you ever felt that your pet was meant to be with you? Could your soul have made a contract with your pet long before you met? Hi, I'm Tami. Welcome to my channel. I'm glad you're here. Today we're going to talk about soul contracts and how your pet may be fulfilling an important spiritual agreement with you. This is something I've learned in my own life with the many animals who lived with me. Our time together is never random, people or animal. We come together to help each other grow. Animals play all kinds of roles in our lives. They help us with our lessons. They keep us on track. When I met my mentor and friend Sharon Callahan, one of the first things she said to me was, "You're on your blueprint." Well, I didn't know what that was. I'd never heard of it. She said animals are in charge of the blueprints for humans. They help keep us on track for our soul's growth. The animals in your life are helping you with yours, Tami. So what is a blueprint, I asked. She said a blueprint is an overarching map that outlines what you aim to experience as you grow a spirit. If we were looking at our blueprint, it might seem like a hologram where you see all the pieces together and individually at the same time, but it's part of the whole. As humans, we tend to get off track, and we need a little help from our friends to find our way back. And that's where the animals come in. Soul contracts. All right, what is the soul contract? Well, it is, as you imagine, a soul contract is an agreement made at a soul level before a person/soul is born. This contract outlines lessons, experiences, and relationships the soul will encounter in this lifetime to facilitate personal and spiritual growth and development. Our pets have soul agreements and contracts with us. These contracts represent their role in our lives, such as offering unconditional love, companionship, teaching us about responsibility, even teaching us about loss and grief when they pass away. That's actually a big one. There's so many areas in our personal lives they help us with. And while they are helping you with theirs, did you know that you're helping them with theirs? Yes. Animals have their own blueprints, what they hope to experience and learn. Animals also have their own perspective of any event, and they experience personal and spiritual growth through their lives with humans. I've watched it many, many times. So the soul contract works both ways. While you're having your experience with them, they're having their experience of you and with you. How they see things may be entirely different from the way you see them, and often is. That's why an animal communication session can be so enlightening. We can see from their perspective. But I liken it to children. Each child has a different opinion about the parent because they were raised at different ages and they came into their parents' lives when things were happening differently. Oh, one more thing. Animals have soul contracts to play out with each other and karma too. That is, they experience life as individuals in relationship to humans, but also in relationship to other animals. So what is it they come to learn? Surprise, surprise. Same thing we do. Just like us, they come to experience friendship, trust, relationships, forgiveness, motherhood, being part of a family, vulnerability, independence, being an equal, being loved, healing, joy, special needs, partnership, unconditional love, responsibility. Think about your own life for a minute. From this brief list, does anything resonate with the lessons that you're learning? We can usually see a theme in our lives when we look back. I'd love to hear what you've noticed as a theme, and usually there's more than one theme, and they're usually overarching and commingling with each other. They also take on the roles in our lives. You might feel your pet is your child. I hear that a lot. Your sister, your brother, parent, soulmate, twin flame, guide, protector, best friend, confidant. What else? Do any of these descriptions resonate with you? That you've had your experience of your pets this way? What are some of the ways these soul contracts work for people? Well, pets enter our lives at specific times. First of all, their relationship with us is never random, ever. They enter our lives at specific times to help us with life lessons we are meant to learn and are embarking on at that moment. If you want to understand your own soul contracts and soul paths, pay attention to when your pet or anyone came into your life and when they leave. There is always a connection. Entries and exits come at juncture points for our soul's growth and for theirs. I liken it to forced soul growth. When I ask a client, what was going on in your life at the time your pet came in, a lot of times I get, nothing really. I can see them surface swimming to answer the question really quickly. I'm like, okay, let's try again. Look again. And they scrunch up their faces and squeeze their eyes shut as if they're trying to just squeeze it out. Finally, after a minute, they usually open their eyes because they've caught it. They're able to locate the connecting thread between the two. It just takes a little deeper dive, and we're so used to giving answers really quickly, like in school. I know the answer. I always encourage people to look beyond surface meaning to see the deeper meaning. Perhaps a dog shows up at a time when you're entering a life transition without realizing the significance at that time. So years ago, I had a mother come to me on Thanksgiving. Her name's Gracie. And Gracie ended up having 9 puppies just about 5 days after she came. So I didn't have much notice. She was really sad, really, really sweet, and one of the best mothers I've ever seen. So I named all the puppies after the Winnie the Pooh characters. So there's Tigger, there's Christopher, there's Robin, there was Eeyore, there was Pooh. You get the theme. And so as they grew, I watched Gracie, and I really didn't have to do a whole lot except show up, and she would teach me what she needed. I was completely a support. I didn't need to take over, and it was really, really beautiful. She loved those puppies, and I had the sense that Gracie was fulfilling part of her soul contract and her soul path to be a mother and to have that experience because she truly enjoyed it. And to see her puppies all the way through till they were ready to go out in the world. A lot of times animals, mothers are, the puppies are taken from them so soon and that they don't have enough time to bond. And so at any rate, we enjoyed each other quite a bit. And then I got some great photos of the puppies when they were time to get out in the world. And it's interesting because anytime I've had puppies, mothers come into my life, the right people show up for the puppies that they're meant to be with. It is fascinating. So I did my part. We took some cute photos and got them out there. And then I had a meet and greet one day, and several people came, and they're all looking at the puppies. And one person in particular came with her family. Husband came, 2 or 3 children came, and I saw the husband sit to the side, and the wife explained to me that he wasn't well, he had cancer, but he wanted to be part of the family picking the puppy that was going to come into their lives. They absolutely gravitated toward and fell in love with Christopher. Christopher had white on one side and black on the other, and the older daughter that was with them fell in love with Robin, who had the opposite markings, but exact. It was so cute. They were like mirror images of each other. And so Christopher went home with the family that day. He became very well loved. He was good friends with the son. They played, they wrestled. So about 6 months after Christopher was adopted, the husband passed. And so it was the mom and the kids and Christopher. Well, Christopher became quite the guide, quite the protector, and stood by their side for the next many, many years. He just recently passed, and he grew as an equal and stayed by their sides to ground them and to guide them forward. It's the most amazing thing. Animals are put in place oftentimes, just like Christopher was put in place, and they just happened to be guided to look for a puppy. Who would have known? You know, a cat may come into your life when you're needing some boundaries or you need some independence. You know how cats are. They have rules, and we have to go by their rules. They're not going to go by ours. Animals choose to be with us at the perfect time to help us with the life lessons we're working on. You know, you may adopt an animal after you go through a loss, and they helped you with your emotional grieving and your healing, and in ways you never expect. They are fulfilling their role with you, and you're fulfilling them. I'm going to tell you something. Animals have always come into my life at just the right time. I may not have known it then. Murphy came into my life in the early spring of the year my sister passed suddenly. You know, Sharon, the mentor I mentioned earlier, came into my life 6 months before my sister passed. So both were actually put in place. They were already grounded, ready to go forward when I needed the emotional support, and boy, did they help me. And then Puppy Katie came in several months after that. I was grieving terribly, couldn't pull myself out of it. I would say I was in the grief mud pit. And she awakened the joy in my heart I thought I had lost forever. She was like 3 months old and had a lot of skin issues and just a waif, a little orphaned dog. I'm pretty sure I had forgotten how to smile. She definitely brought that back. She showed me how to see life through her eyes, through how a puppy or a child might see it. So one day, we're sitting outside, and I hadn't sat outside in a long time, and we were sitting in the grass, and she was looking up at the trees, and she was completely mesmerized. So I'm like looking up, trying to figure out what it is she sees. And she was watching the leaves rustle, and, you know, they were changing at that time. So the wind was blowing, and they were crispy and falling, and she was so fascinated. And all of a sudden, this energy jumped into me, and I felt this new, fresh aliveness and something that I hadn't felt in a long time. Snoopy came into my life when I apparently needed an assistant managing things. I didn't realize I had put out for a nanny. I had businesses, children, animal, you know, the family thing. And she slid into my life at the 11th hour. I'm pretty sure it was the 11th hour for me too. But she was getting ready to be euthanized because she had been there too long. And one day I was helping at the shelter, and I was like, oh, I think you're supposed to come home with me. I'm so glad she did, because she came in as a healer and to nurture and watch after us. She was our Mary Poppins, and she kept us all balanced, all in line. It's like she packed up the little lunches and saw everybody off. And she had an especially sweet, motherly, caring nature, and helped Katie, who needed a mother, tremendously. So I want you to look in your own life with your pet at this time. What do you notice? What connections do you see? What was going on in your life when they came in? I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments. They're always so fascinating. So what are some of the other ways that the soul contracts with our pets operate? Well, life lessons, like I mentioned. First of all, animals are our greatest teachers of so many things. They have their work cut out for them. This is only a few from the list. Unconditional love we may be learning about. You know, pets are pure. They got it going on. They love unconditionally, without judgment, something that I think we struggle with. We get to experience what that unconditional love looks and feels like. My client Bob told me that he would have never known love had it not been for his dog Lucy. We can feel that in our bodies. We can register that in our hearts. They teach us how we can love ourselves and others in a similar way. Patience and responsibility. You know, caring for an animal takes a lot of commitment. And when we're responsible for another being, we learn a selflessness we may not know we had, and we get to put another's need above our own. And here's a big one: letting go and grief. That's a rough one. The death of our pet is one of the hardest experiences we can go through. It rips our hearts to pieces. While that journey is never easy, and it's never easy for me either, it helps us face the pain of loss and learn how to process grief, and we get better at it, believe it or not, each time, so that the death of a pet can bring clarity and help us understand what's really important and how to appreciate life more. If you're experiencing that right now, just know that you're in tremendous emotional growth. Grief over a pet often leads us to understanding our soul's growth. Joy and playfulness. Our pets can teach us how to be present, how to enjoy life, how to live with simple pleasures and really enjoy them. Our animals live in the present moment. We don't. They always have access to joy and playfulness. Heavy emotions, worry, stress, they weigh us down. We go on like we've got little packs all over us all the time. Our pets keep us from getting stuck there. Often they do something really funny to snap us out of it. Lighten up is what my little dogs always tell me. My little dogs are a band of thieves. They look innocent, but they are not. They have assigned roles they've given to each other too, by the way. The mastermind, the island hopper, the thief, the distractor, the lookout, the muscle. I can't help but laugh when I discover the latest heist that they've pulled off. And they all share at their lair, like in their code of honor is, we don't rat each other out, always look innocent. But I always can tell, I'm like, what is up with you all? Here's another type of soul contract, deep bond and sense of purpose. I know Katie helped me feel a sense of purpose. You know, soul contracts involve spiritual connection, which helps explain the bond you feel. So how many of you have felt a sense of purpose in your life with your pet? One time a client asked me, why are all the animals coming to me that have medical issues? She was super frustrated and wondered what she was doing to cause it. She'd adopted several animals over the years, only to discover that each one required a different type of medical approach and intervention to help them live a full life. She was so exasperated. She said, I just want a dog without medical issues. Well, this person just happened to be a nurse, and she knew exactly what questions to ask and how to advocate for her pet's health. Once she saw that she was able to use her super skills and to help, she kind of felt proud and understood why they had chosen to be with her. As I tuned into her most recent pet, he told me he was there to help remind her not to waste her gifts of healing, give them out freely. And that part of his deal was learning about being vulnerability with a human. Spirit will use our strengths and skill sets with our pets as well as people. Pets also help us with getting in touch with our own emotions by mirroring them back to us. So how many times have you noticed a similar emotional response in your pet, like your emotional vibes are kind of the same? Lisa came to me recently, worried that her dog was panting too much. She was like, just starts panting, and we'll watch TV, and then the panting starts, and I don't know what to do. And as she's telling me, her voice is kind of racy. She said, what's wrong with him? Do I need to take him to the vet? So when I tuned into him, he all but rolled his eyes and literally pointed a paw toward her. He told me to ask her about her panting. She laughed because of his wry sense of humor, and she could immediately see where, oh, I've been anxious too, and I have racy energy over things that have been happening in my life. We're always connected, and we affect each other more than we realize. And our animals are empaths, just like we are, so they often take on our emotional states. Listen, my animals have worked with me on all these areas and more. I'm just like you, so I understand it. Now that you know a few of the ways that the soul contracts work, I want you to reflect in your own life, your lessons with your pet. What matching traits do you share with your pet? From the lessons in the list, what are the main areas you're working on in this life, at this time, or have been? What do you think your purpose together has been? What have they shown you that you needed to see, perhaps something you didn't know about yourself? How has your pet guided you to be your highest self? What soul contract did you agree upon with them? What have you learned from them? These questions should get you thinking. Please share what you discovered in this video and in the comments. Your pets have special gifts to share, just like you have special gifts to share with them. Your relationship is not a coincidence, but part of a spiritual journey that reveals your destiny and your purpose. I hope you've gotten something out of this today. If so, please like this video. And if you've gotten something out of it that you learned and it helps you understand your relationship with your pet, subscribe to my channel. I'll be back next week to share more messages and teachings from the animals. Hope to see you then.